Welcome to the very first episode of After the Breach podcast. We're your hosts, Jeff Friedman and Sara, and we're excited to finally get this off the ground and out to you, wherever you may be listening from. Get ready as we introduce ourselves, the podcast, and share what's been going on here in the Salish Sea so far in 2022. We hope you enjoy it, and we can't wait to bring you even more whale-filled episodes from here on out. So, Jeff Friedman, Captain Jeff Friedman.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going fantastic.
So we've been talking about this for years and years, and suddenly we're here recording our very first episode.
I think it's been 3 years that this has been
at least
in the works.
I think we might have been in Bremer Bay when we first talked about this.
I think that's right. And that's going to be coming up on 3 years.
Yeah, and hopefully back this winter.
Yes, I would love to go back there.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, I know you pretty well, but why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Excellent. My name is Jeff Friedman. I am a whale watch captain and guide, running tours with Maya's Legacy Whale Watching. I'm one of the owners of the company and love to spend my time out on the water sharing the whales and wildlife with our guests. And I grew up in the whale capital of the world, Cleveland, Ohio, and left there. And this is my 8th season out here in the San Juan Islands.
And all roads lead to Cleveland, as we found.
All roads. With the guests that we take out, all roads lead to Cleveland.
Very true. Well, anyone that knows Jeff knows that yes, he is whale obsessed as they come. Stays out late as long as he can, and
one more surfacing. Then we'll head home.
Well, and Jeff, you and I met whale watching.
We met on a tour with Maya's West Side Charter back in the day.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that earlier today. I think it's been almost 10 years maybe since we met.
I think that's right. I think it was, I think it was 2013.
Yeah.
Summer of 2013.
Yeah.
And our mutual friend Gail told both of us before the tour that we were on the tour together.
Yep.
And it's kind of cool that almost everybody we worked with started as a passenger with this company.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my first time out whale watching was in the 90s with Jim, so it's been a long road for all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that trip really well. We had L-Pod coming down Harrow Strait, and there was no other boats were out, and we saw them coming in the distance, coming straight towards us, and we just stopped, and it was pretty cool.
It was a magical night, that's for sure. Yeah, they porpoised right past us, and I think they were meeting up with J-Pod.
I think so. That was back in the day when you'd see Southern residents most of the time in the summer.
Yeah.
You could count on them almost every day, and now it's Biggs and humpbacks.
Yeah, yeah. We definitely miss seeing them, but I have to say I love the humpbacks and the Bigg's killer whales just as much. So, well...
So we're going to be talking a lot about what we're seeing out there recently on each of our episodes. We're also going to talk about what we see in other parts of the world, because what do we do when we're not whale watching here? We go whale watching in other parts of the world, and we'd love to share that with you. If there's a special place that you have that you like to go whale watching, definitely let us know. You can contact us at After the Breach on Instagram, or you can email us at afterthebreachpodcast@gmail.com. We definitely want to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure. And Jeff and I are both on Instagram as well. If you check out After the Breach on Instagram, you can find our handles there. We'd love to chat with you guys. It's a good way to stay in touch with us, especially throughout the summer. That tends to be the one social media place that we're actually updating, some of us more regularly than others.
I'm getting a look.
But, just to give you a brief intro to who I am, my name is Sara. I've been out in this region my entire life. We already know that Jeff and I met about 10 years ago. I'm a captain and guide as well, work with Maya's Legacy, and I just love what I do. Love the education aspect of it, the photography aspect of it, and the whales most of all. So really looking forward to the podcast and really just hanging out with Jeff after we get off the water and talking whales and getting that out to you. So, After the Breach, how did we come up with the name After the Breach? I think we were watching whales breaching in Bremer Bay when we were talking about this. I've
always had this idea. I get when I'm out on the water taking photos, there's so many times where the breach that I'm photographing it comes out soft and blurry, but the splashdown after
Super sharp.
is super sharp. So it's like I had this idea of putting together a coffee table book of photos of after the breach.
That's right. We did talk about that after the breach. Yeah. And there were so many breaches that one day in Bremer Bay. I think it was actually our first time on the water out there. Breach after breach. And of course, I think I got one shot, but lots of splashes. So,
we had 3 awesome trips out on Bremer Bay. And if this is off the southwest coast of Australia with a relatively newly discovered population of killer whales just in the last, I think, 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
And they're only there part of the year, but the sightings are during that part of the year are very reliable. And it's a really interesting population of killer whales because here we have 2 populations. One eats fish, one eats marine mammals. And it seems like that population down there eats whatever is around.
Yeah, with a special proclivity for beaked whales.
Yes.
Sometimes blue whales. Maybe a humpback thrown in the mix.
And occasionally a mola mola. We were
That's right.
We were there and we saw a mola mola coming up on the side of the boat and we're looking down on it and somebody said, "Hey, is that missing a piece?" And then we saw this huge bubble blast and a killer whale came up and grabbed it.
Yeah, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the term mola mola, it's an ocean sunfish. So it's these big kind of disc-shaped fish that can get really, really huge. These ones were fairly small, but they kind of just float around at the surface, sunning themselves. And this one met its end. So, yeah, but, that kind of prompted us to what we wanted to bring to the table with this podcast. Not really just a whale watching podcast, even though that's kind of the world we live in. But, talking about education and what inspires us and what inspires, the people we talk to and work with and get to know around the world, because it's a small whale community, as you'll find, and just to have a bit of fun. Not always at your expense, Jeff, I promise.
That I appreciate that. But yeah, we're gonna talk about a lot of different areas of the world and whales and cool marine wildlife. So if you are interested, we're hoping that you will join us. And let's start talking about some of the cool stuff we've been seeing this year. I want to ask you, because I was not here when this happened, but you basically kicked off 2022 with a really cool experience that I probably will never have here. And I was so jealous when I heard what you had, but I want you to talk about what that was like.
Yeah. So, poor Jeff bit the bullet for us. In January, actually on January 20th, there was kind of a really bizarre sighting for this area up by Campbell River, which is kind of like halfway up the inside of Vancouver Island. Someone saw a pod of Risso's dolphins. And Risso's dolphins, we've seen them in Monterey, Jeff, when we've gone down there, but they're a pelagic species. They prefer to be offshore and deeper waters. They're, diving for squid and that kind of thing. But we don't see them a whole lot in inshore waters. And so that was really cool. I know all of us were just shocked. And, we always get hopeful when we have things like that kind of come up, that they're going to show up around here so we can see them. And the next day they were seen off Nanaimo, I think on the 21st. So south of Campbell River. And then we were all holding our breath, like maybe they'll show up down here.
Here they come.
And of course, Jeff's in Cleveland because all roads lead to Cleveland. They did. On the 24th, someone reported them in Saanich Inlet, which is, just across Harrow Strait from us. The weather wasn't great, so, we couldn't get across from there. January, like not a lot of people are going out on the boat in January, though we run pretty consistently. But when you have a sighting like that, a lot of people want the chance to experience it. So I did. I got Jeff's permission. And the day before my birthday, actually, I rounded up a group of locals and some other folks that wanted to give it a shot. And we crossed Harrow Strait to Saanich Inlet. And we didn't actually have a report of them at that point. They'd been seen the day before. No one had been out yet to see them. And it's kind of a long haul over there. But we did. We got lucky. A friend of ours, Gary Sutton, found them just as we were kind of like coming into the inlet and let us know that they had them. And awesome. We got to spend the afternoon with Risso's dolphins.
That's so cool. they were on my bucket list when we were in Monterey, and I was so happy to see them. And never in a million years would I have thought that they'd be. I never even heard of them ever coming through the inland waters here.
Yeah, yeah. I think in 2011, like a couple had been seen in Puget Sound for maybe a day or two. Sometimes some odd sightings get into Puget Sound. I feel like sometimes they end up down there, and but that had been, I think, really the only sighting since 1978. And like the first sighting of a larger group in 1978 was a group of 10, I think, on the inside of Vancouver Island, like in the Strait of Georgia. We're seen in like late August and early September, but since then, nothing really in the inside. So
it's one of the ththings I love about going out on the water in this area is you do get surprises like that. It's not always predictable. You will get sometimes you'll get a fin whale. We had a sperm whale a few years ago. You just never know what's going to be out there.
So I mean, we're going to back it up. I'm going to ask Jeff about this. Like, this was to me like one of the coolest things I've heard, and I was actually here but off the water that day. But tell us about the sperm whale, Jeff. It was in 2017, 2016. 2017, I think.
I think it was 2017, or it may have been 2018, but I think it was 2017. And it was we were on our way to go see J-Pod. They were coming down Swanson Channel, and one of our passengers saw a huge blow in the distance, and we went to check it out. And similar to Sarah's experience with the Risso's dolphins, this sperm whale was seen up in Johnstone Strait and then down in Nanaimo, and everybody was talking that it might be coming down this way, and he was, and it was incredible. He was doing 40-minute dives, but the cool thing is that you put the hydrophone in the water, and you could hear, it was like a jackhammer.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then it would stop, and you knew he was coming up for a breath cycle, which was like 10 minutes at the surface.
Well, I would be too.
But it is cool to get these out of the box, unpredictable experiences out here.
Yeah. Okay, so I just looked it up. It was 2018, just to set the record straight. And this ended up being, I think, a young male. That Jared Towers documented up north on the inside of Vancouver Island in Johnstone Strait. And he was up there for quite a while. And then
he was here for an afternoon.
For barely. Like, I remember I was like hiking in the woods that afternoon, and you texted me and you're like, we found the sperm whale.
And then everybody's scrambling to the boats to get out on the water.
We raced to the boat, and it was like just before sunset, we saw him go down in the distance miles away, and I was like, oh, the sun's going to set. But he came up. He did come up by the boat like right as the sun set, which was great. So I did get a look at him. You got the amazing photo of him with the Turn Point Lighthouse in the background. That's like one of my favorite photos that you've taken. So.
Oh, thank you. Well, more recently, we had, it's been an incredible spring with Bigg's killer whales.
It has been.
And we had one day, this was made lots of media, we had over 70 Bigg's killer whales in 10 distinct groups in the area.
That was the day I was off the water, just to set the record straight there.
I believe I was off the water that day as well. But we've had Biggs almost, I mean, it hasn't been every day, but it's been almost every day since the middle of March.
Yeah, and I would say like in a larger geographical area like of the Salish Sea basin, like from Campbell River out to the Strait of Juan de Fuca and down into Puget Sound, like almost every day in 2022. And we can ask Monica on our next episode when we have her on, but I think it's been every day, almost.
I think that's right. I think I don't remember a day where there weren't any anywhere.
Yeah, and with those 70 plus, tons of new babies.
Lots of new babies. That population since 2012 has been growing at 4.2% a year every year, and I think it's just going to keep going.
Yeah, and some of our fan favorites, at least personal favorites, have had new ones in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think, is it 5 new ones already in the last population update?
I think so, yeah. T49A had her 6th calf, which was great. We got to see that the other week. And then 36A had her 5th calf.
Yeah.
So awesome to see them. Kind of late in, I think 36A had hers late in 2021, if I remember.
99 had hers.
Oh yeah, 99 had hers
fall, late summer,
fall.
early fall.
My dream finally came true.
Sarah's been dreaming that 99 had a new calf for the last 2 years, and she finally did.
Yep, finally. But yeah, just amazing. And it's kind of like a pretty bittersweet counterpoint to the Southern residents, because since 2012, really, we've had, probably as many or more calves born to the Bigg's killer whale population than there are total whales in the Southern residents. And it just kind of speaks to how well the Bigg's killer whales are doing, because they have ample food. And the Southern residents, are still struggling, and it's great to see new babies, but really each new calf born is just like this kind of call to keep up the fight, right? It's not that they're doing better, it's that we need to do more.
So you must have I think you have a unique perspective on this, and it's probably different from mine, because this is my 8th year here, and I did see the Southern residents when I would come out here before I moved here. But since I've been here, like, I know the Biggs. I know a lot of the different matrilines. I know more of their stories. You grew up watching Southern residents, and I don't have that experience. I see J-Pod, and there are a few whales that I can ID off, like, on the fly with J-Pod, but I see L's and K's, and I'm like, I don't know anything about these whales, because they're here so rarely.
Yeah, they are. And yeah, it's true. I mean, it's been, 28 years, I think, since I first saw Southern residents in the wild. And that kind of sparked this whole obsession for me. So yeah, they're whales essentially at this point. Like, most of them are whales that I've grown up with, right? I've seen them when they were calves and watched them grow up and have calves of their own. And, I tell people this fairly frequently, as often as they'll listen to me, right? But, when I first started doing this in the summers, and we talked about this, the Southern resident killer whales you would see on the west side almost every day. Like, if I was here 14 days, I might see them 12 days out of those 14 days. And maybe the other 2, they were up kind of off the Fraser River, looking for salmon. And now maybe 12 times a year that we see them in inland waters. I mean, they're here more than that, but maybe 12 times that I personally see them from the west side or what have you. So it's definitely been a huge change. And, K's and L's, I can identify them all, right? Like, pretty much on site, but they're definitely growing.
You can identify every whale on site.
Not every whale, but the Southern residents, but they're growing so much in between times that they're here now. It's like they'll pop up in front of me, and I have to, like, stop and think for a second who that whale might be, because he's, grown a 1.5 feet, and his dorsal fin's grown, 1.5 feet in that time that he's been gone.
Yeah, and J-Pod was here a decent amount over the winter. We didn't see them a lot. They spent a lot of time much further north than here, but now I think they are out on the outer coast. And if it follows the patterns of the last few years, I am not expecting that we'll see them until July or August.
Yeah, I think the last couple of years they've left in the first, week and a half or 2 weeks of April and haven't come back until July. Hopefully that's not the case, right? That they're finding enough food in inland waters or in the Strait of Juan de Fuca that they're not staying away that long. But, the way it's been the last few years, that very well might be the case. So, but, we have to talk about the new calf. There was a new calf in J-Pod, right? J59, born to Haishka, J37. So, like I said before, great thing to celebrate. We want to celebrate every new calf, but we also want to recognize that this new baby is going to require a lot of food in the future. Mom's going to require a lot of food to continue nursing this calf as long as it needs to be nursed and that kind of thing. But very exciting to see that new little fin swimming with the rest of the pod.
Always. Well, I've been really excited. We've had some what we would refer to as exotic killer whales in the inland waters that we've been seeing. We had a group that has been around on and off the last, I would say, month or so. T172, 117B, and the 30Bs, and I, 172 and 117B before this spring, I don't think I've ever seen them.
You have. You don't remember, but you have.
Were they with the 30Bs during the eclipse?
They were.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the trip. That
no, not during the eclipse, but we've seen them together.
Okay. I think then maybe only one time.
Yeah.
And I think that they have spent more time here this year than they have in previous years, because I would remember seeing them if I saw them.
Definitely. Like the last time I think was maybe 2019 in the spring, and they came in, and it was 5 of them. And I think they spent maybe a day or two. Like they came up Harrow Strait, and they actually went up Plumper Sound. But yeah, they weren't here for very long, if my memory serves me. And obviously, like, I could be wrong, right? I don't remember every single sighting. So, but I think that was the time we saw them last, was 2019, the 5 of them together.
Yeah. And I mean, just hearing their numbers, when we were out, I was with April and we were out, and she said, I think this is D172. And my reaction was, who? Stop making up numbers.
You're going to get in so much trouble with her. Well, you already do. But yeah, it was 2017. We had all those fires going. Remember, it was like crazy for a month. Well, that's every summer, but that was back. We had the T117s came in at T117 and T120, and I think at that point T117B was with the family. But ever since then, she's been with the T172 and the T30Bs when they've come in, and not with her mom and brother.
Interesting. Yeah. See, I mean, these are whales I don't know very well because I have not seen them a lot. Yesterday we got to see the 23Ds, which was another group where I was like, who is that?
Yeah. I don't think I've seen them since 2014.
Wow. And they've been around the last week in the area.
Almost in the same spot.
Almost in the exact same spot.
And T19B Galliano has kind of enjoyed their company. At least he was yesterday when we were on scene, right?
Yeah, he is a favorite of everybody's. He is one of the biggest killer whales I've ever seen, especially with his massive dorsal fin.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool whale for sure.
Oh, his brother's getting pretty big himself.
He is. Yep, Spouter's 21 this year, and yeah, he's a pretty big whale. T19 grows him big.
Yeah, so his younger brother, I just posted a picture on my Instagram from yesterday of his pec fin out of the water, and
I think you could sleep on it.
Oh, that pec fin's the size of a king size bed.
Yeah, it's pretty huge.
Big pecs.
Big. And yeah, well, we've had those larger aggregations. We had the 70 plus whales that one day in 10 groups, but we've had some other bigger groups too. And I, of course, was not out this day because it always happens. Cool things happen when I'm not on the water. Don't take that as like you shouldn't come out with me, because I do get cool things from time to time. But you were up in the Strait of Georgia and had the killer whales with Valiant, the humpback whale.
I was not out
Oh,
there.
no.
I
Okay.
missed that. I was there afterwards, and Valiant was not around. We didn't find Valiant. I was the last boat up there, and we were with it was the 65Bs and
The 34s and 37s, I think.
And 37s. Yeah, with the 65Bs. And I was the last boat up there before the storm came in. And
right.
Came back in some fun conditions. But Valiant wasn't there, but that is definitely, I was going to ask about the return of seasonal humpbacks.
Yeah.
And we've had a few, and Valiant who seems to have either is not all there or has
he's all there.
He's either really tough or he's not all there, because
He's a tough guy.
And we'll post a photo of Valiant's flukes, but
Yeah.
scarred up from orcas as a calf.
Yeah, we saw him, as a baby, right in his first year, and with split fluke, his mom, and he has a very similar big chunk out of his fluke as she does. But yeah, obviously survived a killer whale attack, fairly young in his fairly early months.
Yeah, and I had a run in where he surfaced pretty close to my boat, where nobody had know he was even in the area.
That would have been scary.
It was very scary. And then last week, and we'll post some links to some media about this. He was in an area with how many? The 65 Bs and 34s and 37s. So we're around 10 killer whales.
Yeah, 9, 10. Yeah, 9, I think.
And is surrounded by them, and whatever, no big deal. I got you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't there, right? But I heard he was kind of rolling around with them. It wasn't like it didn't seem antagonistic from anyone I had talked to there, but he was just kind of like right in the mix. And I think the whales had been socializing, the killer whales had been socializing before he showed up, and he had been lunge feeding further away. And then
Do you think maybe he thinks he's a killer whale?
maybe he wants to be a killer whale.
Who doesn't?
That's true. That's true, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting. But we've seen that before, Jeff, where humpback whales have come in to the vicinity of Bigg's killer whales and even southern resident killer whales. But it's almost seemed, at least with the Biggs, antagonistic. Usually when they're hunting something and the humpback whales come in and are displeased.
Yeah, you usually see some kind of reaction out of the humpbacks.
Yeah.
Some kind of breaching or tail slapping, something trumpeting something.
Yeah, because we had that encounter maybe in 2018. I can't keep track of the years. In 2018, I remember exactly where it was. We were near West Bank out in Boundary Pass and had T-75 Cs and Bs and others. 49 days were there killing a harbor seal, and Heather and Raptor actually came in like from miles away. You could see him coming and just came right into the mix of it. And the seal had bit the bullet long before they showed up, but they were not happy with what was going on.
It's amazing to hear stories about humpbacks that do that. I mean, you hear about that from other parts of the world as well. And it's pretty cool.
And I mean, like not limited to cetacean species or marine mammal species, but there was that researcher that was swimming and the humpback whale came up and was trying to like lift her out of the water. And there was a shark.
Yeah. That made media all over the place. That was pretty cool. Yeah. I think humpbacks I love humpbacks. I've really developed an affinity for them, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of our returning humpbacks. I feel like they're a little late, but that's might just be me. I think I feel like that every spring.
We always feel like that because we miss them so much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how many new calves come back. I think we had 22
calves like that
last year that came back with known humpback whales. And it's really interesting because this is another major change that we've seen. When I started here 8 years ago, we were seeing humpbacks, and it was really special because you just didn't see them a lot.
Right.
And now once they're back here for the summer, we see them almost every single day.
Yeah.
All the way through December.
Yeah, well, we had them on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, I think, this last
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve.
Four of them.
Yeah, all together.
And had them
having their own New Year's party.
Yeah, and had them up off the bell chains the year before, even in January. I think there were quite a few up there.
Do you remember when you first started seeing humpbacks here, when you were coming out here before you moved?
Well, I grew up, right on Puget Sound, Kitsap Peninsula. I never saw humpback whales here when I was a kid. We, went to Hawaii once or twice, and I saw them distantly there. But I never saw humpback whales, never expected to see humpback whales here. And I think I saw my first one in the early 2000s. But it was, one of those like, oh my gosh, we're seeing a humpback whale. This is cool. It was like the sperm whale encounter, right? For us at that point, like,
oh my God, it's a humpback.
Right. And maybe here for a day. But it's crazy how much of a comeback they've made.
It's incredible. I mean, we really do see them almost every day, or you can see them almost every day once they're back over the last 2, 3, 4 years. And every year, I mean, it seems to there are more, and they seem to be more reliable. I think this is becoming one of the most accessible places certainly in North America to see them.
Yeah, at least while they're feeding, right?
Right.
During the summer months.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's just been crazy, and seeing different behaviors kind of coming up, like the trap feeding and the flick feeding.
Right.
Where trap feeding, the whales kind of sit at the surface with their mouths open, and then flick feeding, where they're using their pectoral fins and their flukes to stun fish or what have you. I'm not a humpback behavioral expert, but I try. And we'll have someone on to speak to that in more depth and with more knowledge. But it's just been incredible to see these humpback whales here and doing different behaviors than we've seen, and having so many come back. I think, how many did we have the first iteration of the ID guide, which was like 20,
There were 100, I believe.
14?
2014 or 2015, I think there were right around 100 humpbacks in that catalog.
And our latest one was 2 years ago, 2019 or 2020.
2020.
The latest ID catalog, and there were over 550.
I believe that's
and
right.
More.
And there will be more. And those humpback catalogs are outdated the second they're published.
Well, same with the Bigg's killer whale.
With the Biggs,
right?
Absolutely. Well, and that's why with the Bigg's killer whale ID guide, there's every quarter there's an update coming out.
Right, which is not a reflection on the researchers doing the work. Like, they're
No,
doing
it's
an amazing
the
job as fast
population.
as they can.
Yeah, it's nice to have these success stories.
Right.
And these happy stories, because you don't get a lot of that in wildlife or environmental stories that are good, but these are two populations that are doing really well.
Right. They're an example we can use to hopefully spur conservation efforts for other species. And also, you need to give people hope, right? They're not going to invest in something that they can't see a happy ending for.
Absolutely. So what are you looking forward to the most? What do you want to see this year?
Oh, man.
Other than the killer whales of Bremer Bay.
Well, yeah, we have that trip, and then we have the Dominican Republic trip.
Dominican Republic, swimming with humpback whales.
I'd like to see a minke whale breach.
Oh, that's been on your list for a long time.
As soon as that happens, I get to retire. Except I'm not going to retire, right? Because I'm obsessed and will always come back. But yeah, I'd love to see a minke whale breach. People know, they're probably laughing. The people that know me and are hearing me say this are laughing because they know that it's like my nemesis. I've been out here for so long and I've missed it by a couple of miles or a couple of minutes.
You'll get one. You'll just keep.
I don't know that I will, but that's okay.
Will.
It's
you
okay.
Will. I think you will. But I think that you're going to see the splash after the breach. And you'll be like,
I did
changing the settings on your camera or something like that, and you'll miss the actual breach, but you will see.
No, in 2020, I did see the splash. We were out. It was you and me. We were
I
on,
do remember that in the distance.
And I saw that splash over and over again, and finally.
But you didn't know that it was a minke.
Not till after.
When it actually happens,
I'll know.
You'll know because you'll hear everybody screaming, and you'll look up, and by the time you see it,
someone will get it on their phone camera.
But you will see, and you will have a great picture
of the splash
after the breach.
After the breach. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's how it's going to go down. What about you, Jeff? What are you looking forward to in 2022?
Definitely humpbacks. I'm looking forward. I'm hoping we see Big Mama come back soon.
Yeah.
I've heard she has a calf.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I think we've heard that before in past years, and the calf didn't necessarily always make it here. So hoping that she has a calf with her when she comes back. I have not seen a humpback yet.
I haven't either
this year. So I'm looking forward to my first humpback trip. And looking forward to seeing when and if 65A has her next.
I think we have to wait a year. I'm guessing next spring. That would be my guess.
Okay. We
can take bets.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think next spring probably. I was hoping it was going to be this spring, but
I know.
But we'll see.
But she showed up a week early this spring too.
She did show up early. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to humpbacks. I'm hoping late summer, early fall to be able to get to some of the big aggregations that we get of humpbacks, where we have On some of our all day and half day tours, we're able to get out to see groups of anywhere from 20 to 70 humpbacks.
Oh yeah.
All feeding in the same area it's one of the most epic things, even just to sit there and listen.
Yeah.
And not even like look, just to hear all of the 50 blows going around the same time is absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. No, that's always on our bucket list for the fall for sure.
So we would love to hear from other people what's on their bucket list or some of their best experiences that they've had, or definitely what they'd like to experience out here. You can send us a message. We're at After the Breach on Instagram, or you can email us afterthebreachpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. And that being said, Jeff, let's like end this on a special note. What's, if you can say one of your favorite encounters from anywhere, anytime?
Wow, that is I'd have to. So that people ask that a lot, right? What's your favorite encounter?
Every day.
And my answer is always changing depending what I've been thinking about lately. Because sometimes it's a humpback encounter from here or down in the Silver Bank off the Dominican Republic. I've talked about Bremer Bay. I've talked about being in the water with orcas in Norway. But lately, I think something that it's just a standout experience was seeing the 65 Bs and 75 B and C hunting a stellar sea lion. And we've just been talking about what a badass 65B is.
That was the Obi trip with Monica, right?
It was. And 65B spent an hour after they killed the sea lion, they ate the sea lion, and then she spent an hour throwing the pelt in the air.
Yep.
Hundreds of yards. I have a great photo. It is on
Put it in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes. It's on my Instagram also. And she's reaching out of the water with the sea lion pelt in her mouth as she's throwing it in the air. And I was just talking about this with a few people, and she is, and I think she is definitely, if you look at 65A, who's, the goddess of the hunt and takes great care of her kids, I think 65B is the real badass in that family. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just talking about that because we had the 65Bs hunting a stellar sea lion just the other day. And
I missed that one too.
Yeah, I felt bad. But I was thinking about that trip, especially, and I was telling our guests, like, I've seen her throwing the pelt around, and it was kind of like, okay, we had, our Thanksgiving dinner, and now let's go throw the football around. That's kind of what
I like that.
Associated it with, right? But yeah, she's badass. And last year we saw her chasing that minke whale with T18s and T19s.
Yeah, she was with T18
and 19s. Yeah. Like 15 miles?
15 miles. Like, we couldn't even keep up with them, and they were chasing a minke. And yeah, I'm telling you, 65B is, she is a badass.
She is.
So your turn on.
Well, I do the same thing, right? I go through like different moods and when I'm thinking about specific whales or families, then that. But the one that's been kind of keeping, kind of in the back of my brain for the last 8 months or so was one I haven't even shared like on Instagram because, we don't really share when the whales come near the boats. But we were up kind of near West Bank and Boundary Pass, and we had the boat shut down because the T-46Bs had been hunting and they'd killed a seal and they were off quite a ways sharing it, but it was just beautiful, flat, calm conditions. I was driving the boat, and so I'm standing at the helm, and we have this, the whales are just kind of socializing and eating together kind of off our port side, and this private boat comes blasting around behind us and was headed straight for the whales. Didn't know they were there, right? Private boaters often don't know that the whales are there. So I grabbed our flag, had the one up on the roof, but I grabbed the other flag and I stuck it out the window. And I was just shaking around like a madman. It's too bad they don't have a video of me doing it because I looked crazy. But I was shaking it, and the boat saw it and stopped and kind of deviated course and went around. But as soon as that happened, T-46B4 came up like straight to the window and right by the tube dropped a piece of seal meat.
Wow.
And maybe it's coincidence. You know, it easily could be coincidence, but I like to think that like she noticed, right? And was like, here, thanks for.
So was it a thank you for slowing that boat down, or was it, hey, I saw you waving that flag. Are you trying to order something? Here's a piece of seal.
I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah, no, maybe she thought I was trying to order a piece of seal.
That was awfully nice. I've never had that experience.
Yeah, and of course when I didn't pick it up, because we're not going to pick up a piece of seal meat, she grabbed it and dove under the boat and tried to drop it on the other side of the boat, and no one picked it up there either. So then she grabbed it and rolled upside down and swam back to the family.
So if she did think that you were ordering it, I wonder if she just rolled her eyes and was like, fine, whatever. And,
what, this isn't what you ordered?
Right. Fine. I'm going back to my family.
Right.
So we definitely would love to hear from you about some of your great experiences, and ask us questions as well. We may read some of them on our next episode. Do you want to talk about our next podcast date and special guest?
Yeah. So I'm really excited. We're going to have on one of our dear friends, Monica Whelan-Shields, who is the founder and research director of the Orca Behavior Institute here on San Juan Island. And she's going to come on and talk about their research and what they've been doing lately. And we'll, ask her some of the questions we just talked about too, because I'm sure she has dreams for 2022 and that kind of thing. But really looking forward to chatting with her. And I think we're going to release that on the ominous date of Friday the 13th of May. You're going to be out of town for a little bit, so we're going to
all roads
lead to Cleveland. So we're going to kind of shoot, I think, for every 2 weeks, but this one's going to be pushed out a little bit. So Friday the 13th for episode 2.
And if you have questions for Monica from Orca Behavior Institute, definitely send them in afterthebreachpodcast@gmail.com or afterthebreach on Instagram.
Yeah. And we'll, have show notes for every episode that we release. We'll kind of put links to additional content, some photos that we've talked about in the episode itself, or if there's like papers or research that we'd love to share, we're going to do that in the show notes. So look for that, but definitely reach out to us, guys. We'd love to interact with you guys. This is not just Jeff and I, but it's you guys too. So we want to.
It's you guys too. We'll have lots of special guests coming up, and show notes you can get on our website, afterthebreachpodcast.com.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you on our next episode of After the Breach.
Thanks everyone.